But surely there are others who'd gladly train with Earl Sutton of Hilltop, assuming he's not retired by now.
Figure it out. This is his home. He wants to fix it.
But the fair's right around the corner. We need him here.
You need him here. And after the fair, you'll need him for something else, and then something else after that. You'll always need him.
I want him safe.
Hey guys, Kiwi here. In this video, I'll be breaking down and analyzing the characters Henry and King Ezekiel from The Walking Dead after the 6-year time skip during Season 9, along with jumping into the comics to show how they're taking over a remixed story arc original to Carl and Rick Grimes. With that being said, major warning of spoilers for everything in the show up to episode 906, along with the comics, and let's jump right into this. So, Carl and Rick Grimes both aren't on the show anymore. I never thought I'd say that during Season 9, but I digress. Since they are no longer on the TV show, with Carl being dead and Rick gone to go star in his own trilogy of movies, it seems as though Henry and Ezekiel are taking over a certain story arc that they had in the comics. Ever since the Season 8 rumors spoiling Carl's death, people have been speculating on if they were going to build up Henry's character to replace Carl. Not only is that turning out to be true, but since Ezekiel is Henry's father now, they can remix any parts of the comics that include both Carl and Rick together. The first example of this is the fact that Ezekiel doesn't feel comfortable with Henry going to live at the Hilltop to be an apprentice for Earl Sutton because he doesn't want Henry living so far away from him, especially in a zombie apocalypse. This is similar to the comics, where Rick didn't feel comfortable with Carl leaving Alexandria to go live at the Hilltop for the same reason. When I saw this happening in episode 906, I was surprised and happy as a comic book fan that the story was even getting remixed into the new beginning for the show, as I just completely lost hope about it and forgotten about it. In the comics, Rick could tell what Carl wanted to ask him, and he delayed it until the end of the next day, which also turned out to be the end of the next issue. As for the first 2 issues of A New Beginning, we were introduced to the people of Alexandria, along with the community and how it's evolved over the time skip, similar to episode 906, mind you, but Rick eventually did talk to Carl about it, and he did agree to let Carl go because he knew it was the right thing to do. The next day, Rick and Carl left for the Hilltop on 2 horses pulling a carriage of supplies, and that's exactly what Carol and Henry did in the TV show. Now, in the comics, we got introduced to how the Hilltop has changed after the time skip once Rick and Carl got there, and I believe that's what we'll see in the TV show as well, with Carol and Henry on their way there. Now, since they've met up with Daryl, it seems like they've hit a bump in the road to visit him, but hopefully they'll still end up at the Hilltop to introduce how it's been doing since the big time skip on the show as well. So although Henry and Ezekiel and Carol are getting the remix story from Rick and Carl in the comics, it's not exactly the same. Although they are on their way to the Hilltop, Rick and Carl never got jumped by any saviors like Carol and Henry did because, well, not only did the sanctuary not go bust in the comics, but all the communities were working together, connecting the roads together and making them more safe with patrols and soldiers and whatnot. So in the comics, it was a lot more safe to go from community to community, but in the show, since Rick left, the communities never came together to finish building the bridge. They never started working alongside each other, and so I feel like that's why Michonne made a council on her own for just Alexandria, instead of them creating a council of all the leaders between the communities. And so since the communities aren't necessarily working alongside each other as much as they should, they aren't helping each other patrol the roads and keep the main routes safe between the communities. This is something that hopefully the fair will fix, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Now, in regards to the whole Henry-Carl remix going to the Hilltop thing, something that didn't get remixed is the fact that Carl would go down to Negan's cell and talk to him about how he wanted to go to the Hilltop. Now, in the show, we've already discussed how Judith is mainly taking over that role of talking to Negan instead of Carl. Check out my video if you haven't done that already, but it seems like Carl's story arcs from the comics are getting split up between Henry and Judith, just like some of us predicted. It's a shame that we obviously couldn't have Henry somehow talking to Negan about going to the hilltop like Carl did, because Carl would tell Negan things that he wouldn't even talk to Rick about, like girls and whatnot, but mainly the fact that he didn't want to go to the hilltop, and even Negan used that knowledge against Rick at one point, making fun of how Carl told Negan before him. So although things can't be exactly the same with both Rick and Carl gone, at least they can still remix the story into Ezekiel letting Henry go live at the hilltop, which is more than I expected. I thought that Henry might be getting some of the Lydia story arc down the road if they choose him for it and not Enid or something, but this went right over my head until I saw it getting remixed before my very eyes during episode 906, which I was excited as hell for. Not only that, but there's another story arc that Ezekiel and the Kingdom are getting, which was teased in episode 906, The Fair. I'll be doing a full video on how the fair will be held at the Kingdom in the TV show instead of Alexandria, why it's so important from the comics, along with the big discussion on the Whisper border, but I have a big Whispers Explained video also coming up that I'm working on as well, so look out for all of that getting uploaded around the same time as each other. So, what did you guys think about Ezekiel and Henry getting the remixed father and son story arcs from Carl and Rick? I didn't know if they'd be able to pull off giving Carl's amazing story arcs to different characters and actually make it a success, but so far it has a bunch of potential and I feel hopeful. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, but that's pretty much it for the video, guys. I'd appreciate a like on the video if you've enjoyed anything I've said today, as it really helps me out more than you can imagine. Feel free to subscribe for more Walking Dead content in the near future, as I have a crap ton of video ideas still floating about. We have a bunch to talk about in the Walking Dead universe right now, and if you'd like to take that extra step in helping support the channel, consider checking out my Patreon as well. Also follow me on Twitter too if you'd like, link to both of those in the description. I'm fairly active on Twitter when I'm not posting videos, and I'm always retweeting everything I can involving the Walking Dead universe. But anyways guys, as always, I thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out!